welcome to the Esmeric Art Studio. Today it is literally lights, camera, action. Usually when I look out my studio window, I have a beautiful view of the mountains, but it's raining, it's overcast, I can't even see the mountains today. I hope it's a sunny day where you are today. Today's project is going to be having quite a few components to it. I would like to make a canvas. I just need to hold this. It's an 8x8 canvas, and what I'm planning on doing is doing my background. I want to do Paverpol as well as the heart with Paverpol, and then the wings I am going to do with metal embossing. So let's start with the first one, and that is going to start doing the Paverpol heart. For the heart, I have cut a template for the heart, and I was first going to do it with aluminum foil, but I didn't really get the shape I wanted, and then I was thinking of painting it with just paint it with Paverpol, but that wasn't the texture that I was looking for. I wanted a more ruffly texture, so I went to my second plan, which was working with cotton t-shirt material, 100% cotton. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip them in the Paverpol, work with it, and then just add it to this template. So as usual, first thing you need to do is you need to stir your Paverpol to make sure that it is really mixed through. And of course now I can't open this one. And then once I'm done with that, I'm going to that is adding the fabric to my template. I'm going to add red to the heart, and while that dries, I'm going to be working on the canvases. So I'm going to use cadmium red hue, and I don't know if I pronounce this correct, Naphthol crimson. So this is the two reds that I'm going to use. I just didn't want to have it just a plain red. Unfortunately, I don't have any of the Pavercolor red, so therefore I'm just going to use the acrylic paint. Okay, so I'm going to start stirring. First get rid of this and start stirring, and then we will move on to the next step. If you have these on the sides, it is a really easy way. Just get the end or a beginning and then just start pulling it away, and there you go, it's all clean. You can either keep this. I usually look how it looks because sometimes I do use it in my projects, but this one is pretty boring, so I'm just going to chuck it. A piece fell in there. Back to stirring. I'm quickly going to stir this up. The Paverpol is stirred, and for this next step you can actually wear gloves if you want to, if you don't like the feel of the Paverpol. Personally, I just like working with my hands with this. So I have 8 strands here. It's about ½ an inch wide, and it is between 10 and 12 inches long. I just cut the t-shirt open in that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dip it in, and I'm going to start working it through and just put my fingers in there and just keep on working it through until I know everything is covered. And today I'm working with black Paverpol. Sometimes, or my preference is usually the gray, but because I want to have a really contrast between the metal wings and the heart, although the heart is going to be red, I've decided to work with black. So just make sure it is worked in very well. I will definitely take more care with this if I am going to put this outside, but I know this is going to be an indoors piece, but I still want to give it a good coverage with the Paverpol. So if I miss a spot or two, for me personally, it is not going to be a train smash. So I'm just going to add a little bit of Paverpol to my heart, just to act as a glue. And now I'm just going to start placing it and working with it. And I'm literally just crunching it up and trying to get right up until the edges, although I think I'm just quickly going to rinse my hands. Always have a pail of water with you that you can for rinsing your hands, and that won't be necessary if you work with gloves on. Yeah, and just start maneuvering it however you think you would like it to be. I let mine go off the cardboard a little. You can also, you know, take wider ones and sort of just scrunch it up. That will also work. It all depends on the look you want to go for. Add that there. And there you go. And keep on maneuvering it. I just keep on wetting my fingers. There you go. So I'm going to do exactly the same with the rest of these. And once my heart is completed or fully covered, I actually think I'm just going to come in here and make sure that those parts there that I can still see is covered with the Paverpol, because I don't want to have pieces of cardboard visible. Although a small piece is not going to be a train smash, but overall I would prefer not to have them. Okay, there you go. So again, I'm just quickly going to fill up the rest. So I thought I'll just quickly come back and show you. So what I did with the second one was I just scrunched it up, and then I just placed it, and that actually works way better than trying to, you know, scrunch it up on the paper like I did with the first one. So it has a little bit of a more looser feel to it, but it still matches the first one. So yeah, you know, when you do yours, just see which one you prefer and works best. But I definitely think the second way, scrunching it up and just putting it down, works better. And there you go, our heart is finished. Just glue it down with. Okay, I'm going to put this aside so that this can dry, because otherwise, I don't know about you, but I keep on fiddling, and then eventually it ended up 10 times worse than what it started out with. Okay, so I'm going to put this aside, and then we're going to move on to the next step, which is going to be to prepare our wooden canvases. I'll quickly show you. I'm actually doing 2 of these canvases. The first one, the heart, everything just worked. The second one is, there is some areas there that I just don't like. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to maneuver them with 2 skewer sticks. So this is something that you can use rather than your fingers. It just works a little bit better when you are maneuvering it with a skewer stick. So then you can actually pull out some of the ones if you want it to be, you know, that you think, okay, there's a little bit of valley. Just pull it out, lift it out with the skewer stick. So yeah, so that is what you can do as well to maneuver it. I've ended up using 5 out of the 8 strips that I had. And what I also did notice is when you look at this, there's way more definition on this side there. What I've scrunched it up before the time and just place it than what I had on this side, where I was trying to maneuver it into, you know, while I was placing it. So definitely this is the way moving forward that I'm going to do this. Okay, so next step is we're going to get to painting, and I'm just going to, on a piece of scrap plastic that I have, I'm going to squirt out some of the 2 reds that I have. Oh, they actually look very similar when you look at it like that. It looks so different in the tube, but it's okay. I'm going to pick up some of the one and then of the other one, and I'm using a dry brush, so there's no water. This brush is dry, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over it like this. So the red is going to catch on the higher areas. And I didn't really pick up some of the darker red, and now that is very red, but that's fine. I like it. I think I'm going to go with just the darker or the lighter red, because usually hearts is red. And again, it's dry brushing. You don't want to cover the whole heart in red. You just want to highlight it. But then again, if that is something that you would like to have more red on your heart, you can actually go into some of the little cracks and cavities that's there, and you can do that. You can even go further and even highlight it maybe with a little bit of silver or even gold. I think gold would look very good as well. Personally, I'm just going to leave it like this for the reason that my wings is going to be metal, so I don't want to have shiny on the side with shiny on the inside. And just work on this. Oh, and these things that I'm using, well, I usually put my Paverpol, even when I paint, to dry, is actually these silicone mats, cook mats that you have, but I'm not a very good cook, so I find that I have way more use for it in my studio than what I have for it in my kitchen. So again, it's a dry brush, and I'm just touching up on the higher areas. I'll give a little bit of that. So I'm going to finish this one, and then we will move on to the next step. The two hearts are finished, and it's interesting how you pick up on things that you sometimes don't pick up while you're actually busy working. So when I was painting this one, it looks like there's almost two roses there, one over there and one over there, and it didn't really show up when I was just looking at the black Paverpol. So for the canvas, there's a thin layer of gesso on here, and it's just standard when I buy canvases. I would quickly put a layer on. I'm going to mix my Paverpol with my PaverPlast. I'm not really going to pay attention to how much of the one or to the ratio that I'm going to mix it into. I'm just going to feel and stir, and when I feel it's the right consistency, that is what I'm going to do, because I would like to have some texture on my canvas, but not so much that it's like a clay. I just want to count enough because I'm going to need for 2 canvases. And where's my cloth now? How can I never find my cloth when I look for it? Okay. So close this up, and now I'm just going to start adding some PaverPlast in and keep on stirring and mixing it up until I find that is the consistency that I want. I'm going to start off with that and mix it through. So the consistency I would like to have for the canvases is that I can still paint it on. So it must still be fairly movable, but I would like to use some skewer sticks or something to, you know, scratch out or make some kind of texture on there. I don't think this is going to be enough for both canvases, but that doesn't matter. I can always just mix some more. So again, it's just mixing and keep on. No, it's still a bit too runny. So when you want to have texture on, you have to make sure that once you scratch through your Paverpol and PaverPlast mixture, that texture is going to stay. It's not going to run together again or close up again. Seems like this might just be it. And again, you're not going to need a very thick layer of this. Of course, you can go as thick as what you want, but it's finding that sweet spot where it's not runny but thick enough to work. So I'm also going to do the sides of my canvas, because I find sometimes that's the one place that we tend to neglect. And although we think people just look at the canvases from the front, they do see it from the side as well. I don't think I need more than this. Yeah, this is about the consistency that I'm looking for. So how can I describe it? It's running, but it's not running. I don't know. But once you start working, you will just know, okay, this is exactly what I want. So getting my canvas in here, I'm going to start and just literally, as I say, slap it on. I mean, if you look at the texture there, that is even more than enough texture already, just having those little bumps of the PaverPlast that is in there. I think I might need to put it a little bit thicker on if I want to have some. Just have a look here, because sometimes to get a good texture, oh no, this will work. No, this is going to work. It's always good to test, because once you've tested and you see it's right, you can, or not right, or not the way that you want it, let me rather rephrase it that way, you can go and make a change, either add some more Paverpol or add some more PaverPlast, rather than what you wait until everything is done and then try and go in and change it. That's not working. So test it as you are going. This one, I get the effect that I want. So I've done 2 of the sides, and now I'm just going to come in and I am going to make some scratch marks here. Just to give it a little bit of extra texture. What I, of course, could have done is I could have gone in just with a layer of Paverpol, and then it would have had a black background, and the white that's already on here is not showing through. But for this one, I don't mind if a little bit of the white is showing through. This is a little bit to dry. Let me just go over there. Yeah, that's something that you have to keep in mind as well. Don't let it dry out too much, because that can also be an issue. Trying to do the same as what I did there, but at least it circles. And again, you don't need to do this texture on the sides or on the canvas on the front if you don't want to. So I'll scratch through the top as well as all 4 the sides, and you know, it's personal preference. You don't really need to do this. I'm going to leave this to dry. It's just quickly going to show you the difference. So for my second canvas I'm working on, I've put on a layer of the black Paverpol over the white gesso, and as I'm going to scratch through this, then you will see the difference. You still have the texture effect, but the white doesn't come through because, I mean, obviously it's covered. So then you just have the texture with the black on black. Personally, I think I like both of them. It all depends on the project that you're working with. And that's the thing, you know, you can use the same elements and make the same project look completely different by just trying out something different or using a different technique. So for this one, I don't want to do the round squiggles again. Just going to cover that there. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make scratch marks. I'm just going to straighten my canvas quickly. It's bad enough trying to make a straight line, and even having it at an angle, that's going to be even more difficult for me, because for the life of me I can't do a straight line. So I'm just scratching through, and again I'm using my skewer stick and trying to scratch through as straight as what I can. So even if it goes a little bit crooked and skew, it doesn't matter. With this as well, when you do something like this, you can do all of them in the same direction, but again, it is personal preference. I just find it's easier for me if I go in both directions, and you can just fall in. If you see this, oh wait, there's a little bit that looks like it's not been scratched, you can just go in and scratch there again. I know with the lights being on in the studio, you can't really see that good. It's funny that natural light is actually your best source of light. I have massive windows in my studio all around except for my back wall. So it's fairly good natural light that is coming in. There, looks like it's a little bit not thick enough, but I'm not going to fold it up now. Just going to keep on scratching through. So the Paverpol and the PaverPlast, on that point, I don't think I've painted it as thick as I did on the rest of the canvas. So yeah, but you can see the difference between the two. So once it's dry, I will have the two canvases next to each other before we're going to start assemble, to just show you the difference between the two canvases, the one with the black background and the one where we just kept the white gesso background. Okay, I think I'm going to stop now, otherwise I'm going to get carried away. Next we are moving on to the metal embossing wings. I did make a texture plate with the ones that I've cut out, and I've also run it through my cuttle bag, and then I've played around with it, but I wasn't really happy with this. I might come back to this, but what I will do is in another video I will show you how I make some of these texture plates that I'm using with my metal embossing. So the next step that I was thinking of doing is, this is where I have cut it out. So I was thinking of using this as a stencil, and I'm going to cut out the wings, and then I will actually layer them on top of each other. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace all of them, and you can use either a pencil, and of course now I can't find a pencil, so I'm just going to use my Teflon tool, and I'm just going to trace it. And I will trace all three the sizes that is going to go on top of each other. And as soon as I'm done with that, I will start cutting out the wings as well. Tracing the last of the small wings. And the reason why I decided not to go with my original wings, this one over here, was just because this is a really busy canvas, and I was thinking, you know, I don't want to take away from that, so I want to keep the wings fairly plain and simple. I'm going to start cutting these out. And again, you know, with this, you can use your the dry needle cutter, but because it's fairly easy. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just quickly going to use some scissors, and I have these handy dandy round nose scissors, so I'm going to use them, and I'm just going to cut out. So I cut out in one direction, and once they are all done, I will just come in, and then what I usually do then is I turn my scissors around and I will come in and turn that around. I hope the light is not too bad, but that's the best I can do with this cloudy rainy day that we're having here. So if you don't have one of these round nose scissors, you can also use a small scissor, and it's always easier that when you do that to move your pewter and keep your scissors sort of straight. I just find that it's easier to maneuver, or you get a cleaner cut than what you are trying to move your scissors all the time. Well, obviously you will have to move it when you get to the end, but then you can just keep on going and just move again your pewter around to follow the cut line. And as I said in the beginning as well, when we started with the cutting, you can also use your dry needle cutter, but for this I just find it's quick and easy. I just give mine a roll with my roller. If you don't have a roller, you can just use a paper stump as well. And there's a piece that I've missed. Well, I didn't really miss it, but I cut it a little bit skew. So there you go, and on to the next step. So as I've mentioned, I want to keep the wings fairly simple, so I did a quick test, and I think I'm just going to use my texture wheels, 3 different texture wheels, one for each of the layers of feathers. And now I'm going to be working on a texture plate. Oh, not a texture plate, a paper pad. And I'm going to start off with the smallest wing, and I am just going to go in and I am going to use the diamond texture wheel. So the whole, I'm going to find more or less a central point where I'm going to be starting off, and I am just going to keep on going out and fill up until the whole wing is covered with this. I hope it's going to pan out the way that I would like it to look. But let's see. Yep, so the first one, again, I've just used the small or the narrow diamond wheel. For the second one, I'm going to use the diagonal narrow, and again I'm going to find more or less the center point, and I'm using, if you can see on the wing, this is the point that I'm actually using, that one there, and I'll start in straight. I'll go from there and I'll just keep on moving and just keep on rolling. Oops, and there it just slipped. That happens quite often. And turn it and move it out, and the same on the opposite side of the swing. And again, with these wings you do get a better effect, or the texture wheels, if you work in short backwards, front to back movements, rather than trying and doing one continuous movement. Okay, so let's see how the two look on top of each other. I'm sure you can use the same texture wheel for all of them, but I thought a little bit of differentiation would be good. And now for the last one, I'm going to use the horizontal line, or the herringbone line, sorry, the herringbone line with a gap in the middle or in the center. And again, starting there this is going to be a little bit trickier to maneuver. Oh no, it works okay. And again, I'm just moving short front to back movements. And on this one, I'm actually not starting all from that center point because it's going to be looking just weird. So I'm just following the bend of the wing self. And I'm just working out my way. That one looks like I've missed it. And let's do one more over here, and I think this should cover it. Yes. So there you go. And there I have the free wings. So it's different textures, but it still brings it together. What I think I might just do is, because there is, no, I'm not going to do that. I was thinking maybe I must use a wheel and go into where the gap is for the herringbone and lift it out. But I don't think I'm going to do this. I'm just going to stick to keep with the way that it is. So I'm quickly going to do the other one. And once that is completed, we're going to put our whole project together. Okay, so I almost forgot about the blackening, to add blackening to the wings, but I just quickly want to show you something here. So this is the way that I have added, or as I was rolling, this is the one effect that you get. Let me just remove these gloves to see better. And then you can also turn them around and use the opposite side if you like that more. So when you look at the two side by side, this is almost like an embossed effect, where this is the like an engraving, or the engraving, a low relief, and this is just embossed. So think about it, you know, it's not to say that because this is the way that you've done it, so all you need to do is you just need to swap them around. Well, obviously you will need to, you know, change that around as well, but look at the wings and see which one you prefer, because now, although this one is bending down, you can just always move it around and bend it upwards again, the same as this one. So I'm going to keep mine the way that they are, and I'm just quickly going to do the blackening, and then from there we will put our project together. So with the blackening, it's just coming in with your water base black marker, adding or coloring it in. And then give it a couple of seconds, or you can go for minutes as well, doesn't matter. It all depends, you know, how dark you would like it to be. I don't want mine too dark because the canvas is black. So I'm just going to try and wipe most of it off so that there's just a little bit in the hollows or the markings that the markings from the texture wheels. So I want a little bit of definition, but not too black. So starting to assemble, just for placement, I think I'm going to first just put the wings together. And once the wings is together, it's going to be easier to do it onto the canvas. So I'm not going to glue everything together. I'm going to use basically this section over here so that there's still sort of some movement on that part. I'll do the tip there, and maybe I'll go right to the, I think I'm going to go right to the bottom here as well. Oh, now the glue doesn't want to come out. Oh no, it just came out in a blob. Always happen, it either don't come out or it comes out in a blob. So just placing the two together, squeeze it so that there is still, you can see the different the difference between the layers of the wings. I'll just clean that up. And that was a little bit overzealous there with the glue. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the smaller one. Just going to add a little bit of glue over there. Well, I say a little bit, but these always comes out more than just a little bit. But I don't put onto the wing part or the feathers, I would say. So I don't use glue there. Again, just matching that up with the line. And while this one is going to dry, I'm quickly going to glue the other wing together as well. So when I look at the placement on the canvas, I'm glad I've made the decision to go with these wings rather than these ones, because I definitely think, well, for me personally, I really like these ones with this. But then when I look down, the background looked really busy for me, so I've decided I'm going to repaint the canvas. I'm going to use black paint, acrylic paint. I'm not going to go in with Paverpol, so I'm just going to use black acrylic paint, and I'm going to paint the background. So I will still have the texture, but everything is going to be black. Okay, so time to assemble. So I'm just going to, this way around. I'm just going to place my wings and my heart so that I have more or less an idea. Play around with, you know, how you would like. I think that actually looks way better. Yeah, I think I really like this more. So play around with the layout, and so then you can see, okay, this is how I like it. So I'm just going to make myself a mark or a guide as to where the wings must come. And then I'm just going to double check that it is okay. Once I put down the heart, yep, looks okay. And again, I'm just going to add glue to this area. I am not going to add it to the end of the wings. So as it was drying, the tip lifted a little bit. And what you can do is, because it's Paverpol, you can actually just heat it up with your hairdryer. It gets soft and you would be able to bend it back again and before you glue it. So yeah, that's a nice thing about Paverpol, that you can sort of readjust it by just warming it up again. And our heart going down, yeah, it looks fine there. Just going to apply a little bit of pressure here for a couple of minutes, or well, I guess not minutes, couple of seconds. Just for it to adhere and make sure that it sticks down. And next, I'm just quickly going to add my name, and then it should be done. And there you go. Our winged metal embossing and Paverpol heart is done. And I'm still going to wait a little bit longer before I'm going to start fiddling with that. But as usual, I'm fairly happy with the way this has turned out. Again, thank you so much for spending time with me in the studio today. And always remember, the world of reality has its limits, but the world of imagination is boundless.